Okay, so now the slides are visible. Are the slides visible? Yes. Okay, so next time whenever there is a shutdown, okay, so we will just finish off the class because it's raining here with thunders, so maybe that is the effect why current is going so frequently. Okay, so coming to the carbohydrate metabolism, let's start. Okay, so how this hyperglycemia is produced. Okay, so the glycogenolysis is stimulated in your liver. Glycogenesis is reduced in the liver by inhibition of enzyme glycogen synthase. Okay, and glyconeogenesis, that is your hepatic production of glucose from lactate, amino acids and glycerol is increased. So if this is glucose metabolism is increased, then insulin secretion is inhibited, the glucagon secretion is stimulated. Okay, voice not clear? Okay, if voice is not audible, rejoin again in the app. Now what is the role of ACTH in your carbohydrate metabolism? So when ACTH secretion is stimulated, it stimulates your cortisol secretion, and cortisol is a glucogenic hormone. Okay, so in this way epinephrine will produce your hyperglycemia, which makes your glucose available for brain and other tissues to meet emergencies. Okay, so this is the carbohydrate metabolism. Now coming to the fat metabolism, the norepinephrine will cause increase in lipolysis by stimulating hormone sensitive lipase via your beta receptors. Okay, so for carbohydrate metabolism, it is mainly your adrenaline. Okay, for fat metabolism, it is your noradrenaline. The result is in increase in free fatty acids in the circulation, which are utilized by your heart and muscle as a fuel source. So these again, the effects of your carbohydrate and fat metabolism are very important for your fight and flight response. Okay, along with your effect on your CVS and CNS. So we have finished with your actions of catecholamines, metabolic actions of catecholamines. Okay, now coming to the physiological actions of catecholamines, effects on your CVS, okay, cardiovascular system. What if you divide into the two hormones, epinephrine, when there is increased HR and heart rate and your force of contraction by your beta 1 receptors. Okay, so when the heart rate and force of contraction increases, the result will be your cardiac output will increase and your systolic blood pressure will decrease. Okay, so heart rate, cardiac output increases, peripheral resistance decreases, systolic blood pressure increases, and diastolic blood pressure decreases. The mean arterial pressure, either it is decreased or normal. Okay, so this is for your epinephrine. For your norepinephrine, when there is increased heart rate and force of contraction, again via your beta 1 receptors, okay, that will result in your that will cause vasoconstriction. Okay, and the vasoconstriction will affect via your alpha 1 receptors. Okay, increased HR and your force of contraction via your beta 1 receptors and vasoconstriction via your alpha 1 receptors. So the result, decreased heart rate, decreased cardiac output, increased peripheral resistance, increased systolic blood pressure, increased diastolic blood pressure and increased mean arterial pressure. Okay. Now these are the reasons why norepinephrine is useful for patients with shock. Okay, the norepinephrine is useful for patients with shock compared to your epinephrine. Now the CVS is over. Now coming to the other systems. Okay, on CNS, it acts via your beta receptors to activate your RAS system. Okay, that is your reticular activating system. How? By lowering the threshold and lead to arousal and altering the responses, ultimately producing your anxiety, apprehension and post tremors of your extremities. On GIT, epinephrine via your beta receptors cause relaxation of smooth muscles of wall of gut, decreasing its tone and motility. Okay, so this you must be studying in a GI now. Okay, motility, how epinephrine acts. And via your alpha receptors, beta receptors will cause relaxation of smooth muscles, alpha receptors will cause contraction of the sphincters of the gut, and so the net result is the production of your constipation. Okay, so on CNS it activates your RAS, and on GIT through your beta receptors, relaxation of smooth muscles, and through your alpha receptors, contraction of the sphincters of gut. The urinary system, on mainly your urinary bladder, produces retention of urine by your relaxing the detrusor muscles. On skins, through your alpha receptors, on your pilomotor muscles, producing your piloerection of hair, that is by acting on the sweat glands of your palm and sole, which cause localized sweating called as your adrenergic sweating. This you must have commonly felt. Okay, generalized sweating which is cholinergic. So adrenergic sweating, that is localized sweating mainly on your palm and sole. This happens when the catecholamines act via your alpha receptors. On muscles, during exercise, epinephrine will act via your beta 2 receptors to increase the blood supply, causing your vasodilation, and it increases your glycogenolysis in the muscles to release glucose into your circulation. Eyes, it causes dilation of your pupil and contraction of your dilator pupillae muscles via your beta receptors. This causing relaxation of your ciliary muscles, producing flattening of the lens. So ultimately what will this happen? The epinephrine, it will try to focus the distant objects. Okay, so hence you can be aware of the emergencies or the situations coming beforehand. Okay. So Neeta Patel, my FCC is not working properly. Again and again my sessions are getting expired. Okay, restart your phone. Sometimes it happens. Okay, it gets hanged with your FCC. So if you restart your phone, maybe you will get a proper one. So on respiration, epinephrine will act via your beta 2 receptors, which will relax the smooth muscles of bronchioles, producing your bronchodilation and increases rate and force of respiration. So on blood, epinephrine will it reduces blood coagulation time. How? By increasing the activity of factor 5. What is factor 5? What is factor 5? Name factor 5. Okay, labile factor. Correct, labile factor. Okay, so increases RBC count, hemoglobin content and PCV due to the release of RBCs in your circulation by causing your contraction of spleen. Second activity. Third is increase the plasma protein concentration by the movement of fluid out of circulation. Fourth, the neutrophilia occurs due to the release of your sequestrated neutrophils into your circulation. Mainly the two important one, increase the RBC count, reduces blood coagulation time. Okay, so we are over with the other systems. Now on secretion of other hormones. So how catecholamines affect other hormone secretion? Insulin and somatostatin secretion is decreased via your alpha 2 receptors by decreasing the cyclic AMP. Okay, reverse action. Glucose and pancreatic peptide secretion is increased via your beta 2 receptors, and your TRH induced secretion of TSH from your thyrotropes is decreased via your alpha 2 receptors. Thyroid hormone secretion is enhanced by your catecholamines. On renin secretion and sodium and potassium movement. So catecholamines increase your renin secretion by stimulation of beta receptors in kidney, and increase in renin in turn will increase the aldosterone secretion, which will in turn enhance your sodium retention in your body. Okay, so we have finished now the effects on the other systems. Now coming to the last function of catecholamines, that is the role of sympathoadrenal system in various physiological states, that is during exercise and exposure to your cold. Now epinephrine maintains your body temperature by conserving body heat as well as by producing heat. So this is during your cold. And during exercise, you have already known that mild to moderate exercise has your sympathetic nervous stimulation is activated, or it has sympathetic nervous activation, and sometimes during your severe exercise the adrenal medullary secretion is increased. Now coming to this stress, what is the integrated response to stress? Okay, last class I told you that for both the hormones you will see it together. Okay, so what is this integrated response? Okay, what two systems are coordinating to control stress? One is your sympathoadrenal medullary system, the other one is your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal cortex axis. Okay, so the sympathoadrenal medullary system, it will act through your stimulation of your adrenergic neurons, and hypothalamic pituitary adrenal cortex axis will act via your stimulation of your hypothalamus through two hormones, that is corticotropin releasing hormone CRH and your ADH. Okay, so let's see what happens during stress. What is stressed? Okay, and how it is perceived. So stress can be of three types. One is your emotional stress, physical stress, or your biological stress. So emotional stress includes your anxiety, anger, fear, fatigue. Physical stress will increase have a pain, exercise, exposure to cold or heat. And biological stress includes your surgery, anesthesia, infection, hemorrhage, hypoxia and hypoglycemia. Okay, so all this stress, emotional, physical and biological, they will the stress signals originating from these types of stress will be perceived by the areas of your brain from your cortex to your brain stem, which also includes your limbic system and RAS, that is a reticular activating system. So the stress signals are perceived by the areas starting from your cortex to your brain system, including your limbic system and reticular activating system. Now the first thing that happens is the activation of your hypothalamus. Now the activate two, that is one is your CRH and the ADH neurons. Okay, now second step what happens is your activation of your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Because the CRH and ADH neurons are activated, okay, they will stimulate the ACTH production. Okay, they will stimulate your ACTH production in the adrenal cortex, which will ultimately stimulate your cortisol levels. Similarly with the other hormones also, ACH will stimulate your norepinephrine, ACH through adrenal medulla will stimulate epinephrine. Mainly ACTH through your adrenal cortex will increase your plasma cortisol levels. So first was the stress signals coming from to the cortex till the brain stem. Then there was stimulation of the hypothalamus. Then there is activation of your sympathoadrenal medullary. After hypothalamus, there is activation of your hypothalamus. Then from here, when there is increase in the cortisol levels, there will be activation of your sympathoadrenal medullary system. Okay, so stimulation of your adrenergic neurons of your hypothalamus will release your epinephrine from medulla and norepinephrine from your sympathetic ganglia. Okay, now the main action of the stress comes as a fight and flight action. Okay, fight and flight action. From the name itself, fight means to oppose something. Okay, fight, and flight means to feed or to run away. Okay, so fight and flight action. So how is this takes place? Okay, how is this takes place? The results, that is, there will be increase in glucose production. Okay, there will be free fatty acid supply, there will be CVS adjustments, and there will be immune response. Okay, so these are your fight and flight responses, that is increase in your glucose production. Okay, energy mobilization and redistribution, there will be CVS adjustments. Okay, there will be free fatty acids supply, and there will be immune responses. So this is the action of your adrenal hormones on stress. Okay, so we have completed the adrenal medulla. Okay, fight and flight response. So what is it? Norepinephrine and epinephrine have effects on your CVS, respiratory, GI system, intermediary metabolisms to prepare individual to the fight or flight at time of emergency. So the effects are intended to either fight with the enemy to finish or escape fast from the enemy to protect. So this is through the symptom and catecholamines released from your adrenal medulla. Okay, so this is important and as such comes as a short note or give reason question. Now coming to the applied aspects of your adrenal medulla, there is one disease associated with your adrenal medulla. So the name of the disease is pheochromocytoma. What is it? It's a rare benign tumor arising from the epinephrine and norepinephrine secreting chromaffin cells of your adrenal medulla. What are the features of it? Will have hypertension, attacks of tachycardia, palpitations, sweating, pallor, headache and chest discomfort. There will be sometimes abdominal pain with vomiting, constipation and glucose intolerance leading to weight loss and weakness. Okay, so pheochromocytoma, it's a rare benign tumor which arises from the epinephrine and norepinephrine secreting chromaffin cells of adrenal medulla. So we have finished with today's class. We are over with adrenal glands. We have studied in general about the adrenal glands. We have studied about the adrenal cortex, hormones of adrenal cortex. Okay, glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids and your sex steroids, the applied aspects of adrenal cortex, and today we studied about the adrenal medulla. So we have finished with adrenal gland. The next topic for us will be your hormones of your pancreas, some local hormones, okay, and hormones of your other important organs. So that we will see next class. So we are over with today's class. Thank you. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in your class. Your first MCQ exams are over. You must have self-assessed yourself for your examination. The results will be out soon. Okay, most of you have done very good. Okay, some have averagely scored, but thank you.